It's the first working day of 2016, and tonight the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers gives government a one-week ultimatum to withdraw its recent energy sector levy, which has resulted in the shooting up of prices of petroleum products by up to about 28%.
And we would repeat that government has the next 7 days. Today, the same government has gone back to Parliament to withdraw the 1% income tax that it introduced, whose impact assessment, I'm sure, wasn't done. So hurriedly introduced, but they realized it really was not right. So they are withdrawing one. We are praying that government will listen and go back and withdraw this 2015 energy sector levy bill that is now bringing all these challenges. In the next 7 days, something should be done so that Ghanaians will get the sort of relief they deserve in a new year as this one. If not, they don't, then indeed, a week today, they should prepare themselves to meet all of us on the streets.
But is this threat realistic? And in terms of revenue, how significant is the energy sector levy going to be? How is it that petroleum prices are hovering around the $37 mark, and yet in Ghana we are pressed for extra taxes to be paying more at the pump? Should we or should we not be paying more? This is today's big story with me, Stephen Anti. Now, the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers describes the energy sector levy, which has triggered an almost 30% hike in petroleum prices, as lazy. In an exclusive interview with Joy News, the executive director of the Chamber, Duncan Amoah, says it is wicked and insensitive of government to even rush through the levy under a certificate of urgency at a time when Ghanaians are already feeling the pinch. Our reporter Latif Idris caught up with the executive director.
It is very insensitive and wicked. In fact, like I have said, if they indeed wanted to even be fair to say, look, we could raise a little more from petroleum taxes, right? Let's raise it from 22% to 25%. I'm sure some 30 pesos or 40 pesos addition from 12 cedis to about 12 cedis, 40 pesos. I'm sure the system would have found a way to accommodate it. But where you come with such substantial increments overnight, what it does is it destabilizes everything. It destabilizes every gain that you would have made over the past 6 months under price liberalization. And today we come back to control pricing, where government forces, rather than market forces, is determining how much you and I should pay at the pumps. It is indeed wrong and sad. I think variously, most economic discussants have indicated that there's a way we could even widen our tax net. One would expect the managers of this economy to do a prudent job. Look at other sectors, productive sectors of the economy. How do we strengthen? How do we get a little more from them? Rather than doing the cheap, lazy approach of thinking some consumables, right, are easy to bring in revenue. So let us sit in our offices, the comfort of our offices, just send a bill that says, oh, you people should pay more, and they are paying more. It is a very lazy approach to taxing.
Are you giving government an ultimatum to withdraw this bill? And if that is what you are seeking, what would you do if your call is not heeded to?
Indeed, as we speak, people are paying these astronomical tax charges that have been slapped onto petroleum. As we talk now, we have said it might take government a bit of a meeting here and there to really realize the real impact of this will be that Labour will now come back to ask for more. I mean, people will now begin to demand a lot more from the system. Contract values will now go up, because if I'm going to construct a road in Sugakope or any part of Ghana, and I need to move trucks, I'll factor in my petroleum costs. Everything within the country is going to go up, and most of it will come back to government. It will come back to bite the same government. Maybe they will go, sit at the table again and think about it, think through the real impact. So we have said in the next 7 days, something should be done so that Ghanaians will get the sort of relief they deserve in a new year as this one. If not, they don't, then indeed, a week today, they should prepare themselves to meet all of us on the streets.
Right. So now let's hear from the oil marketing companies whether they share in the view of the petroleum consumers. Kweku Ajimandia speaks for the oil marketing companies, and he's joining us by telephone lines now. Good evening, sir, and thanks for your time. Good evening, sir.
Yes, good evening.
Right. Sorry, this is Duncan. We have Duncan Amoah back on the telephone line. Mr. Duncan, you issued more like a threat to government, issuing an ultimatum, a one-week ultimatum, failing which you said your people, consumers, will hit the streets. But is this more like this threat realistic?
Indeed. We are also committed to ensuring the consumer gets what is adequate, what is proper, what is fair. So as we speak, we understand there are several moves by government to do what is right and do what is just. And then, indeed, like you heard, we wouldn't hesitate going on to do what we need to do to ensure the consumer is so protected and given what is fair and what is right in this country. So yes, indeed, we're still going to go ahead if things are not done the way they should. If things are not restored, then indeed we would have no option but to hit the streets and demand for what is fair, what is proper, what is adequate.
I understand your point that if government does not heed to this ultimatum, you will hit the streets. But the key question I was asking was that, do you feel that under the circumstance, this is fair? This is realistic? I mean, government needs to raise revenue. We know that. And there being the discussion of broadening the tax net to roping a lot more people to improve the revenue base. So these challenges are there for government. Government needs to explore ways of increasing its revenue base. And yet, when it does, institutions like yours say, no, that's not fair enough on us. So I'm asking you in that context, whether you feel that issuing this ultimatum is fair and practical.
You see, indeed, nobody takes away the right of government to get a little more from the people as far as development is concerned. In fact, if it was just the issue of needing money to develop road infrastructure so that you and I could have accessible roads, I'm sure we could have situated it in a proper context where either we increase road tolling systems, or even if we wanted to still go ahead and look for a little more money from petroleum revenues, we could have found a suitable or a much more convenient way so that we do not inconvenience the general public unnecessarily, and we do not inconvenience everybody beyond H. But where we sit right now, where you find 40% increment in road fund tariff, and where you find additional 41, 42 in the special petroleum levies accruing out of some difficulty that some institutions do have, and for which something ought to be done about it. Indeed, you are forced to one conclusion that something naturally more accurate or a lot better ought to have been done and could have been done. But like I said, if impact assessment was not done for this sort of levy or taxes being slapped on petroleum, then clearly you will come back to the situation where you will rake in more, but you will still use some more of this money to pay back to labor, to pay back for other expenses unforeseen in getting these revenues. Indeed, there is a lot better we could have done.
Right. Mr. Duncan Amoah, thanks very much. Your point has been made. I wanted to push further on establishing whether in your estimation, this is a fair demand. But let's get on to the other telephone line now and hear from a technical analyst on the financial market, Raymond Avonyo. He's joining us on the telephone line. Ms. Avonyo, good evening and thanks for your time.
Good evening, Steve. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. I know that your organization would not like to be drifted into all the arguments of whether or not government's energy sector levy is fair. So we will stay away from that. But I need to ask you, right now in Ghana, today, we're told that we're expected to enjoy about 10% decrease in petroleum prices, considering that on the global market, the price of a barrel is $37. So I'm asking you, how is a trend? What should we expect to see on the global market when it comes to oil prices from now to, let's say, the next 2 or 3 years?
Okay, thank you very much, Steve. Looking at 2016, as I checked my chart before leaving the office, it is $26 a barrel as of right now. And then from now to the end of the year, we expect oil to actually be around the same price or even lower. The only time we should experience a bounce in terms of an upward or an increase in prices should be around February and March. And this is what is going to hurt consumers a lot, both locally and globally, because around February and March, we have oil companies retooling, they shut down operations, they repair their equipment. So supply is going to drop. As of now, we are having excess supply.
I see.
Because oil is being discovered almost everywhere. I'm sure there's even some that you're building at home. So
Raymond, let me come in. If I get you right, you're saying that we're expected on the global market, prices of the product is expected to come down, and maybe by the close of this month, we should be expecting to hit as low as $20. Is that what it is?
No, not as low as $20. I'm saying that by the end of the year, we should expect it lower than where it is now.
Okay.
And I'm saying that we should expect an increase in prices somewhere around February to March. And around February to March is when we have oil companies repairing their systems and retooling. So around that time, there's going to be a shortage in supply. As of now, we are experiencing excess supply.
Right.
So in February, March, we're going to experience a decrease in supply, so prices are going to go up a bit. But after March, you should experience prices just around $36 a barrel or even $32 a barrel and lower.
I see.
For the whole of this year, by the end of the year, we still expect crude to do very poorly. The prices are going to go down. Going to 2017, 2018, crude should just be around $40 a barrel or $45 a barrel. Nothing beyond. If there's any magic, it shouldn't go beyond $48 a barrel.
Right, Raymond, I beg your pardon. I'll have you hold. I mean, I want to discuss with you how this trend is expected to reflect on oil-producing countries like Ghana, and especially those of us in the African region. But I'll have you hold. I have on the telephone lines Kweku Agyeman-Duah, who speaks for the oil marketing companies. I'll put to him some of the critical questions that are coming forward. Mr. Agyeman-Duah, good evening.
Good evening, Steve. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. I know that when there is talk about revenue, I mean, government is happy about it because it is the best way to rake in more money to help in infrastructural development or whatever we need money through taxes for. But would you say that the energy sector levy, which has now resulted in almost 28% jump in petroleum prices, is justified?
Well, you know, normally we are not interested in justification of the taxes and levies. I mean, anytime we have these law being passed and our regulator writes to us for us to comply, what I do is my task is to be able to help my people online for everybody to be able to comply with what the legal issues postulate.
Right, so you are like under obligation to effect whatever instructions you have from government.
Yes, Steve, come once again.
I'm saying that it appears you're telling us that whenever there are such, announcements or instructions, you are under obligation to comply.
Yes, and that one we have to put on the price build-up to make sure that we are supposed to comply with the formula and so that we can appropriately pay the government. Otherwise, we have to pay.
You have to pay. So tell us how this works. I know that many of our viewers will be wondering if, for example, this 27% hike in petroleum prices kick in, at what point do you collect it, and at what stage do you now return to government coffers?
Basically, what we have is that depending on the particular levy involved, like if you know, the price build-up is made up of the earth refinery price with all the tax and levy. Then we have special petroleum tax on all those 9 items which are listed on it. So, for instance, if you take a refinery price, it also attracts 17.5% tax in addition to the amount. Even the excise duty, the levies that we have seen them being quoted, also attract 17.5% special petroleum tax in addition to what they have. Then after that, we have the UPPF margin and other margins coming in. Then what we do is that when everybody buys fuel at the pump, this one is a build-up in the Ghana pesos per liter price that they pay. So we pick it up, then we pay the government. We have normally 21, 24 days to be able to pay that.
To pay the government.
So that's what happens.
So may I ask if there is anything in this for oil marketing companies at all?
Oh, no. For the taxes and levies, that's strictly. In fact, if we default, we are in trouble, we have to pay penalties on it.
Interesting. But really, I mean, I want to gauge your thought on the fact that whether or not it makes sense that on the international market, prices are hovering around the $37 mark, actually, I mean, per barrel. And yet in Ghana, we're being made to pay more. I mean, I'm told that even today, we were expecting to enjoy a 10% discount on petroleum products. How is it working? Is it fair?
Well, the fairness is relative, in terms of the fact that government on the other side is talking about getting revenue. And for us, what it does to us is that the moment the price goes up like this, in the interim, we don't have enough volume. People don't patronize the fuel products. They start sinking until a certain time that becomes even that they start coming back to the levels. We thrive on volume. So we initially will have an offset of the volumes going down. But talking about being fair, it's for us to look at it, as a country. If we think all these levies are levies and taxes, and we have to also put 7.5% tax on them, that becomes draconian for the average consumer. That's something we need to look at.
I know. Mr. Agyemang, I'll have you hold briefly. I'll return to you to wrap up, but I still have Raymond Avonyo on the telephone line. Mr. Avonyo, we were talking about projections, and you have clearly told us that by the close of this year, oil prices could be dropping even further. Now, let's look at it from the viewpoint of petroleum-producing countries like Ghana, Nigeria, and the other producers in Africa who are not necessarily as big as producers from Iran and Russia and the rest. What is likely to be the effect of this drop in petroleum prices on our income, revenue from petroleum?
Well, for the countries that are dependent on this product for their growth and development, we will see revenues dropping almost daily. And then beyond that, some countries are commodity trading countries, like commodity trading currencies. So for commodity trading currencies, you see the performance of their currencies will be dropping in the world market as well. So it's a major thing. It's going to really affect a lot of nations. I think Nigeria is losing a lot of money. Other African countries will also be losing a lot of money.
Ghana might be losing too.
Yes, the discoveries have not stopped. Countries are still discovering oil every day. So there's still going to be so much supply. So countries that are banking on oil will not do well this year.
Will not do well.
If all their incomes are coming from oil, they may not do well. They may have to turn to other commodities or maybe turn to agriculture for a solution, but not in oil.
Right.
It means also that if your currency is strongly backed by the prices of oil, then you have another problem as well.
Then you have another problem on your hands.
Yes.
Mr. Avonyo, we will leave it there, and I believe that we will be getting in touch with you to establish a bit more of a robust system we can use to monitor the trends on the global market.
Sure. We can provide
share
that
with
for
our audience with time. Thanks very much for joining us. Raymond Avonyo is a technical analyst for the financial markets, and he helped us with projections into how oil prices might fare by close of the year. But earlier, Latif Idris caught up with some drivers and a manager of a fuel station, asked them questions about this levy, which has now kicked into rising fuel prices. Let's hear what they said.
We are sellers. We cannot do anything about it. That's the price where it come this morning in our filling stations. So this morning where we increased our price. Since last Friday or Thursday when they talk about it, they will increase. But this morning, our engineers come increase our own.
So let us get a better understanding. How much were you selling, say, a gallon of petrol? And now, how much have you increased it to?
Before we sell it, liter price with 2 cedi 66 pesos. 2 cedi 66 pesos.
Per liter?
Per liter, petrol. And diesel, 2 cedi 30 pesos. 2 cedi 63 pesos, a diesel per liter. And now, a petrol is 3 cedi 46 pesos.
We have nothing to do about it. All we have to do is to adapt to what the government has done and then take the necessary action, and then...
You are okay with it because if you go to the world markets, prices of crude has come down to, I mean, one of its lowest. Yes, so we are increasing prices here. Are you okay with the increment?
Actually, the government is looking at the economy, how best the economy can move. You know, we've given them the authority to take charges of all the decisions in this country.
It's ridiculous. We live in a country where everything seems just to be going up. It's just not fair.
Did you budget for this going into this year, 2016?
No, not at all. Honestly, we thought this new year we are going to ease into it with the old system and then try to adjust to it, only to be hit with this shock with the increments.
It's really hurting us, serious. Now that this one is going, increment of petrol is going, it's not good. So they should do something about it, seriously. If not, we don't know what to do. We will use all our money to buy food, and it's not going to help the country. You understand what I mean? Yes. So they should seriously try and do something about it.
Those were views from a cross-section of citizens, some drivers and owner of a filling station. We also have Mr. Kweku Ajimandua on the telephone line to wrap up with. So, Mr. Ajimandua, we are faced with a complex situation. I'm not sure whether complex really fairly analyzes the situation on our hand, but income levels are not rising. We've just come out of a situation where the power situation is supposed to regularize, and then this. So I'm asking you, as somebody who works with oil marketing companies, when these things come up, do they affect your profit margin?
With the taxes coming in and increasing the S-pump at this time, what happens is that our volumes go relatively low. It picks up somewhere along the line when it evens out, but immediately it turns out that we have low volumes, and that definitely will affect our profit immediately.
And
so we realize that everybody becomes very circumspect, very careful in buying the quantity of fuel that they used to buy because it's becoming expensive.
So it's like it's like the citizens are not the only ones. Well, you're a citizen also, but I'm referring to the consumer. It means the consumers are not the only ones feeling the pinch. Exactly. You, the oil marketing companies, are also hurting, and your profit margins are reducing.
Yeah, basically, what our volumes goes down, then obviously it affects us. You know, Steve, what it means, we are also in the market, and all these things affect us in one way or the other because we have employees who go to the market, things become inflationary, things happen to us, and they will be demanding more salary from us. And the cost of services that is rendered to us also goes high when it becomes inflationary. So obviously, we have our costs eating up. It becomes difficult to really manage with such small margins.
So if you had your wish, you would have said that government shouldn't have introduced this energy sector levy so that...
we would have allowed the status quo to remain so that everybody benefits in the low-cost fuel as we all witness in the world.
But did you get the chance? Did you get the chance to bring up this during any kind of negotiations or deliberations with government? I want to believe that this wasn't just hoisted on you one day.
Oh, basically, we were not really in tune with what was happening. Only we had an inkling that something like that was going to happen. So And there's nothing that much we could do when you have things going to a certificate of urgency like it did. And it comes to Parliament as approved, it becomes legal saying we are bound to get it implemented. But, you know, if our views had been sought, probably would have advised on the contrary.
Is there the possibility that government could make a U-turn, just as it has made a U-turn with the 1% tax on interest and earnings and savings?
Well, that would be appreciated, and that would definitely advise, especially when you have all the levies also attracting the 70.5% special petroleum tax. Probably as a relief, the tax can be waived off. And
but I'm asking if you feel there is the possibility. I'm putting it in this context because this is a tax that has been implemented already. So to go back on it and say stop collecting might be difficult. Do you see that it is possible that it can be withdrawn?
Oh, well, you know, it's only early days, yes. And maybe whatever has been done, and if government really wants to do something, can take effect. We can collect the money, but it may be somewhere midstream or somewhere in January. We can just go back and say that for effective from this date, maybe some of the taxes on this have been waived or have been reduced because of public concern. Then we could move from there on. That would give some relief. Because it's happening at the beginning of the year, with all business gear up for very good business efficiency for this year at the back of the utility issues. Then we all of a sudden being hit by this, then it becomes a very big issue.
Thanks very much, Mr. Kwaku Agyeman-Duah. We're grateful for your time. Kwaku Agyeman-Duah speaks for the oil marketing companies, and you heard his views there. Thanks very much for joining us on today's Big Story. My name is Stephen Anti, and thanks for staying.